everybody, my name is Shannon and I am still waiting for my Satyr, and today we are talking about The Trials of Apollo Book 3, The Burning Maze by Rick Riordan. So I will say that after the second book in this series, I was starting to kind of lose interest in it. I loved The Dark Prophecy. I really liked that we got Leo and Calypso and there's a lot of great themes in it. But it was just starting to get a little bit like we were ticking boxes, and it wasn't anything really new in my opinion. I kind of felt like you could tell he was focused more on like Magnus Chase, and that series is like really, really amazing. So it just kind of felt a little bit weird. So when this book came out, I was excited to read it, but I also wasn't sure if I was going to like it, and I was starting to like almost dread reading it because I was afraid that maybe I was like falling out of love with Rick Riordan's books, which all you have to do is look at the name of my channel to know I love Rick Riordan's books. But let me tell you, The Burning Maze is probably my favorite book so far out of the Trials of Apollo series, and it might be one of my favorite books that Rick Riordan has written just in general, and it's probably because it was tailor-made for me. Like, for one, I was a plant and soil science major. I say was, I like literally just graduated, but I love plant science. So like the second Meg was ever introduced as the daughter of Demeter, I've always really been into that. But in this book, we really get to explore that, especially because Grover's a part of it, and we know that Grover is like on this quest with like the nature spirits and like the god of Pan and all that kind of stuff. So seeing him and Meg interact was just so much fun, and it really talks about like the global impact and like what's going on with like climate change and just all this amazing stuff, and I really, really appreciated seeing that. I thought it was really cool. But then we also finally get that balance that I love with Rick Riordan's books, and it's that it balances humor and like his like sense of style and like the way he writes his characters with darkness really, really well. And I've always noticed that with his books, it takes a few before like the meat of the plot really starts to get into it, and like we're really starting to see that it's getting darker and like the stakes are getting higher. That's when I really start to latch onto it, and that's where we're at with The Burning Maze, because by this book we're really discovering like who these emperors are and what they want, because the villain in this one is Caligula, and he is one of the most fearsome emperors of Rome like ever. So the fact that he is the villain is pretty intense, and what he's after, what he's doing, what he wants from Apollo is pretty insane, and it's just really, really cool. I really loved seeing that, and this book opens off immediately with a dedication to the Muse of Tragedy, and so I was like, oh god, what are you doing? What are you doing? When we got to that chapter, I felt it, and I was worried about it, but I thought that it was handled really, really well, and I really, really like where Rick Riordan takes all of the characters, because by the end of this book, I kid you not, I was so emotional. Like, I felt it. I don't know if I'm like emotionally prepared for the next book in this series, because it's finally like building up and like getting dark, and I feel like we have been building to something ever since the first Percy Jackson book, which is what's so amazing. Like, we've been through like 13 books, and to feel like we can still be building to something is really, really cool, and I just really think that The Burning Maze was just so unbelievably well done. I also really like that in this book we get to see Piper and Jason again, so we've kind of had this thing where with each book we're kind of going back to our 7 demigods and like catching up with them and seeing what's going on. Like, we had Percy in the first book, and then we had Calypso and Leo, and now we finally get to see Piper and Jason, and I really love where he takes Piper's character. I've always felt this weirdness towards her because I felt like she could have been written differently. I always felt like Piper and Jason, like there was something else that could have been done with them. They just didn't feel quite the same as all of our other characters, but with this, it's just so real. Like, the way that their relationship progresses and like wherever Piper's at with her life, it's really real, and I really, really like her. It just reminded me so much of like that I really do like Piper, and that she has kind of just been stuck with like where she's been in her life. Like, Hera, the goddess of marriage, like gave her this perfect boyfriend and all of these fake memories, and then she immediately is claimed by Aphrodite, the goddess of love. So she kind of had all of these expectations put on her. So once she was out of the chaos, it's really interesting to see how she thinks about things and how she's trying to figure out who she is, and like her passion and like her fiery personality was something that I think like especially Apollo really needed in this book, and I'm so glad that we got to see more of them, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in the next book. I don't think that Piper and Jason will be in the next book, but I do think that it'll be brought up. I think they might come back a little bit later, and that's something that I'm really, really looking forward to. I also really like where we took Grover in this book because we haven't seen him in so long, so we finally get to spend a little bit of time with him, and it just like, it breaks my heart because he misses Camp Half-Blood, he misses his home so much, and it's just like, it's so good. It's fan servicey, but it's so good. I have a lot more to say about this book in particular, especially with where we're at in Apollo's journey, but it gets a little bit spoilery, so we're actually going to be talking about that on my Thursday video. So if you want to hear that stuff, you should definitely subscribe, definitely check back for that. But for right now, as far as spoiler-free goes, I do highly recommend this book. I do highly recommend this series. I was afraid that I was gonna have to give up on it after the second book, and I'm so glad that I didn't, because I really do think that The Burning Maze might be one of my favorites just out of all of Rick Riordan's stuff, and I am so happy that I got to read it. So obviously, A+ from me. Highly recommend it. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit that like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you can talk books with me every week. That is everything got for you today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.